for YouTube. Everything I show in this video is done on safe, intentionally vulnerable lab environments, and I don't show any active exploitation against any real infrastructure at all. Alright, JDs and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at a fun vulnerability, CSRF, or cross-site request forgery. I know those are some big words, but I'm going to explain how it works, why it works, and how you can make proof of concepts of this. And we're going to go through some labs. Obviously this video is targeted at beginners, and I'm just going to go through a basic way you can do this. However, I will have linked a tool I use which is a little more advanced. It's a custom tool I created for making proof of concepts for CSRF. So if you're advanced, you can still check that out in the description and have a play around with it. I'm going to be showcasing it here, but I'm going to be using the simple payloads to solve these labs. So let's go to our first lab here, which is port swigger. And before we get into it, I'm just going to explain a bit about what CSRF is. So in this case, you can see that we have an update email field, and the way that this site works is if we open up Burp Suite and we turn on our intercept, and I'll just forward that, and we just put in attacker@email.com, and we click update email. And we can see that we have this post request here to my email -change email HTTP2. We can see that there is a cookie for our session, and we can see the email change request to change it to attacker@email.com. Now, how does CSRF work? Well, essentially what would happen is, let's say that I really like cats. I watch cute cat videos all day. I just love cats, right? And I look at websites about cats, and an attacker knows this, so they send me a website with some photos of cute cats on it, right? And when I go to this website, the second it loads, suddenly my email has changed on the victim website. Now, well, why does that happen? How does that happen, right? The reason it happens is because we are authenticated into that site with this cookie. An attacker can embed an invisible form that automatically submits when their cat website loads. And when we visit it, because we're authenticated in, and because this doesn't have an anti-CSRF token, which I'll get into in a sec, they basically get the victim web app to assume that we are trying to change our own email because, we have an active session on the site. So when we visit the cat website, it's as if we had just entered a new email and updated our email so they could change passwords, delete accounts, different things like that depending on the available actions, by basically embedding a form that submits this request automatically, just invisibly in their website. So I know this might be a bit complicated, but the easiest way to show you how this works is just to give you a quick demonstration. So the first thing we need is to go ahead and copy this request to that endpoint, okay? You could do this manually as well if you know how to write HTML, but this just saves some time, so I like to use it. If we turn off intercept, we can see, if we give it a second, that our email is now attacker@email.com. Okay. So we're going to try and change this back. We'll just change it to victim@email.com, just so you guys can see it visually change. All right, so we're back here, and we're going to try and change this to attacker@email.com. So I'm going to fire up my terminal. This tool is in the description, by the way. I'm probably going to host it somewhere, but if not, it's on the GitHub, and you can just run it with Python. We're going to run python poc.py and open up this link. And this is a CSRF proof of concept maker I created. We're going to choose simple. I have permission to test this target. And we're going to paste in that request to change the email to attacker@email.com. All right. Now, what we can do is we can click Generate POC. It's going to check for CSRF token fields. And now we can copy or download this HTML. I'm going to copy it just for demonstration's sake. And we can go back to our terminal. We can go ahead and shut down that proof of concept maker. And we can go back here. Now, what we're going to do, let me just check what files I hit. Cool. So we're going to nano csrf.html, and we're going to paste in that payload. So let me just show you guys what this is actually doing on the back end, right? So we have, obviously, this is a very basic example. And you would add in, the fake cat website here, right? But we can see body onloads equals document.forms submit. Okay, so this is going to submit all of the forms on the page. We can see the form action is to go to our lab, and it's going to put in that URL of my accounts -change email. Method is post in this case. Input name is email, and the value is attacker@email.com. And then we close this off, and this would be invisible to the victim, right? So we would save this, and then I'll host it with python-m http server 8081, and we will just navigate to that website and to csrf.html. And we can see that it is going to change the email to attacker@email.com as if we had submitted it. Now what I'm going to do is just check how to actually solve this. Like, what are they actually looking for? To change the viewer's email address and upload it to your exploit server. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here. You can see if we reload the tab that the email has been successfully reset, and we can go to exploit server. And what we can do is put into the body our not actually sure what they're wanting from this lab, but what we'll do, so just, I haven't actually done this one before, CSRF HTML, and it looks like they're not accepting direct HTML, so we'll just add this. We'll store. Excuse my dog in the background. We'll view exploit. Okay, maybe they do want HTML. Let's try this again. And we'll just put in our proof of concept. Obviously this is a weird setup I'm not actually that used to, just for the purposes of this lab. Store that, view exploit, sweet. And we will go ahead and let that run. Alright, we're just going to leave this one because I can't be bothered to figure out what they want here. And we're going to move on to another lab by the XSS wrap. Because this one's actually just going to let me use my own payload rather than having to mess around with whatever port Swigger's got set up. Okay, so we'll remove csrf.html. And this is probably going to be a bit better of a demo. I mean, the other one also would have worked, but it just wasn't in the way that they were wanting. So we're going to do it again, right? So our first step, this is a bit more of an interesting application here. We can see how much money do you want to send and to whom, right? So our goal is to send money to, obviously, theoretically an attacker on this lab by sending a malicious site that hides the payload from the victor and automatically submits the form in the background. So the first step is to capture a request to send $1,000 to mom. Okay, we're gonna grab this request and turn off intercepts. And you can see that once we send that, we get an almost keep trying, which means we haven't solved the lab yet because we just sent the request normally. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna do Python POC.py, and we're gonna navigate to the POC maker, paste that in, simple is fine for this lab, and we're gonna generate a POC, and we're just gonna copy the HTML, or you could just download it and open it in the browser. But I wanna show you guys, again, the HTML. We can just kill that app, and we can nano CSRF HTML, paste it in. Again, pretty similar thing. The value of 2 is to, obviously that would change to our attacker. And then we have an amount value and the form action as well as the auto submit section here. All right, so we can host this with python-m HTTP server 8081. And then we can navigate to that URL, to csrf.py, csrf.html, and we can see that we have successfully solved the lab here. If we, I was having some issues with this before, so I'm actually going to capture it in burp just to make sure that I send the right value, because it was like appending something and telling me it was wrong. Okay, yep, all working, and we'll just turn off intercept and we can see correct. We have indeed solved this lab. So hopefully that gives you guys like a good overview of the basics of CSRF, what it is, how it works, how it can be exploited. If anyone has any questions, please let me know in the comments. I read and reply to every single one, or hit me up on Discord, shoot me a DM if you have something a bit more in-depth that may not fit in a comment. But yeah, without further ado, have an amazing rest of your day, and peace.